let's go ahead and dive into the latest from Oklahoma's fall camp. We've talked enough about just the SEC and college football as a whole. Let's talk about Oklahoma specifically, because like I said, we are only 9 days away from college football as we are currently live. And so that's exciting. That's an exciting time. And fall camp is coming to a close. And as we get closer to game one thing that we have been harped on and over again is we just keep on hearing the health. Okay. And again, I know we're going to keep on touching on health, not necessarily injuries. Okay. We're going to jump into that because it's some good news. It's good things happening, and that's worth mentioning. First up, running back Jaden Knott, one that gave everybody a big scare because he's a big-time playmaker. Everybody knows that he is capable of being a big-time player. The Cal transfer, he was fully back on Wednesday at practice and looked pretty sharp. And he's expected to play a major role in the Sooners' backfield this season. And honestly, while he was out, again, with him being out, I think Taylor Tatum was another guy that was out for a little bit, not really giving full reps in practice. You got to see, I keep on bringing him up, but you get to see a little bit more of freshman Torrey Blaylock, who's been very impressive and kind of climbing up the depth chart, if you will. Not necessarily that he's going to work his way into significant playing time or anything, but he's been showing the coaching staff that he's got talent, that he may be worth throwing out there in a certain situation. I don't know what his playing time is going to look like. Again, I'm going to stick by my gun and say that he probably won't play hardly at all this year. You might not see Torrey Blaylock on the field for one snap. I don't know. But he is impressive during fall camp, and he's been able to showcase that even more with other guys being out. So, as we get closer to time, I am curious to see if we see Torrey Blaylock on the field at all. And if not, we do know that he's got a bright future ahead of him. So that's very exciting, very fun stuff to know. Quick break in the action. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. If you want to support the channel a little bit further, jump down to the link down in the description below and make sure you become a member today for as low as $2.99 a month. We're going to offer so much more for our members, but we're still going to keep all of the same old content. All of this content is still going to be brought to you guys, but just a little bit extra for our members. Let's get back to the action. Over at wide receiver, you got Zion Kearney, who was cleared from concussion protocol earlier this week and wasted no time making noise there in practice because sources were saying how he just picked right up where he left off, even hauling in a couple of big-time long catches during Wednesday's practice. Had a lot of fun watching some of those clips and seeing, they like to post just enough to get you hyped up, but they don't post enough to give it away to other teams and maybe shift it around as if they're working as Connor Stallions within the program or anything like that. And that's not a shout out, or that's not a dig at our week 2 opponent whatsoever. But anyways, big time news to see Zion Kearney coming back, because his return, it definitely helps stabilize that wide receiver room and that wide receiver rotation. And it helps out, and especially with guys that like Elijah Thomas and Ivan Carrion, who are making some strong pushes in his absence, making big-time catches, one-hand catches, and just making some noise in fall camp from those two guys specifically. So those are a couple guys that really benefited from that and kind of showed that we can rely on a deeper and more talented wide receiver room than I think we would have known otherwise. Some other good news is on the offensive line. You got Derek Simmons, who suited up for the first time on Wednesday, though he was pretty limited. It's good news to see him back out there, finally back from the concussion protocol. Again, he's had a lot of concussions in the past, so they were being very cautious with him, making sure that that's all taken care of before throwing him back out on the field. So good news there, back and looking good. In the secondary, you got both Robert Spears-Jennings and Gentry Williams. They kind of been both banged up here and there, but the expectation is that they're going to be totally fine, ready to roll by next week, and good to go by week 1. One more key returner to note is defensive lineman Grayson Halton. He has missed most of camp with some hamstring issues, but the plan is to have him back full speed, ready to go by week 1. So the staff is probably going to ease him in this next week or so, try to ease him in just a little bit, and especially with big games coming down the line, no need to really throw him in there. We know what he's capable of. We know that he's going to be just fine. So those are all good news on the injury front, something that we didn't get a whole lot of last season. So if Nate's listening, Nate, listen. I know I said we're not going to talk about injuries. I can't not talk about injuries, right? And you're right about that. But we're talking about injuries that are going away. We're talking about the good news, all right? So we'll put a positive spin on all this. But plug your ears because here's some not so great news, but not really bad news. Okay. Not all of it's positive, but of course, everybody heard about this past week when offensive lineman Michael Fasusi had kind of a scary moment on Tuesday, went down and kind of passed out on the practice field. Everything seems like his vitals are totally fine. He's not really expected to miss too much. He might miss the rest of the week this week, but should be back next week and doing just fine. They're just going to take it careful with him and make sure he's good to go, make sure there wasn't anything extra outside of, hey, it was really hot. He's a big dude. They're working extremely hard. And he has been working extremely, extremely hard. So, all good. With Fasusi being sidelined a little bit, you saw some offensive line shuffling around. But let me explain all of this just real quick. So first you had Jacob Sexton. You had Jacob Sexton who's back, which really helps. And it's kind of caused some moving pieces, moving around a little bit here and there. And then, of course, Ryan Foje, who worked at right tackle instead of the guard position. And then, of course, Logan Howland also kind of rotated between the right and left tackle. And so, right now, I would say from what I'm hearing, it keeps on kind of shifting around, but in a good way. But I feel like the big names that keep on being thrown out there that seem pretty consistent, kind of Sexton, Ozeta, you got Everett, you got Fabechi Wiwu, and then you've also got Logan Howland. I think those are your guys that seem pretty solid, that they've always been kind of right up there in the top. There might be some changes by the time you get to the week one, but it seems like a lot of good things, because the shifting around that we heard last season was because so-and-so is banged up and you need to replace him. So-and-so is not doing so well in camp. This year, what you're seeing is a lot of shifting around. Of course, one guy out causes a little bit extra shifting just to make sure everything's plugged up. But again, nobody's out for anything severe up there on the offensive line. Everything's just very minor and very cautiously taking that approach. So all good news there. And then, of course, as we get closer and we see all this, a lot of this shifting around has been because of good competition rather than just the lack thereof, which, we heard too much of that last season with lack of competition. This year, it is a lot of good competition. So anyways, moving away from any kind of injury front and going on to the defensive standouts, because the defense, it continues to shine. It continues to look really good. The freshman star, David Stone, he's playing his best football of his camp so far, anchoring that defensive line in a big way. And he's worked himself into a lot of great playing time. I think he's going to see a lot of playing time, significant playing time. And so very excited about that with David Stone, the guy who was in the transfer portal and came out within 48 hours, came back and he's making the most of it, doing a lot here late in fall camp. So love to see that from him. And he really has been helping a lot with that defensive line, that defensive front, and specifically in that interior. So big time there. And then another name that's kind of been thrown out there here and there throughout camp, but now seems like maybe making a little bit more noise than anticipated, is Owen Heineke, former walk-on who keeps on making big-time plays and getting his name thrown out there. He's really earned himself a spot in a role in a rotation. I don't know how much of a rotation he'll be in, but he's definitely one of those guys that you might see significant playing time and meaningful snaps this season. So to really sum it all up, the Sooners are getting healthier at really just at the right time. Everything seems to be working out really well. Some stars returning and others making names for themselves in camp. Week one is right around the corner, and this roster just seems to keep on taking shape. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to support this channel, keep on growing, and for more to be offered to you, become a member today for as low as $2.99 a month. That's as cheap as, honestly, cheaper than just grabbing a coffee down at the coffee shop each day. So go down there, down below. $2.99 a month is what we start off our memberships, and it will help us keep on growing and offering you more and more content as we grow. Of course, make sure you're subscribed, and that link is down in the description below to become a member today to help us keep on growing. We'll see you next time. Boomer.